Square in Cairo there, where protests are underway. At least 3 people were killed elsewhere in clashes between Egyptian troops and supporters of deposed President Mohammed Morsi. Now, Islamists today staging a, quote, Friday of rejection as the interim president promises to move Egypt toward a fair and inclusive democracy. Some analysts say the crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood is deepening. It's dividing the country there. Jonathan Schanzer, hey Jonathan, sorry to Schanzer, get your last name right, is a former terrorism analyst at the Treasury Department and VP of Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy. So we're looking at a live shot there in Tahrir Square next to you on the screen now and me. And Jonathan, first thing I want to ask you, let's talk about how tenuous is the security there. Are we looking at maybe a few hot spots that might crop up, or is this a keg of dynamite waiting to blow?
Well, I think what we've seen so far is that it's possible for conflict to break out pretty much anywhere throughout Egypt. There were clashes in the Sinai Peninsula, along the Suez area, now in Cairo, Alexandria. So pretty much anywhere where the Brotherhood has strongholds, and that's all over the country, you're going to see protests today and potential for violence.
And as we know, the Muslim Brotherhood, they're calling for those protests today. So what do you think is their motive? Is this the idea here is to say, hey, listen, the Muslim Brotherhood is a force to be reckoned with, and you are not to restructure a political foundation without including us, or is it merely to create chaos?
Well, I'm not sure that the strategy is to create chaos yet, but you have to remember that the Brotherhood has been waiting for this opportunity to come to power for something like 80 years. And now, after only a year in power, it's been toppled. And so its supporters are obviously very angry. They believe that this is a military coup against a legitimate regime. At the same time, on the other side, opponents of the Brotherhood were saying that this was a classic overreach in power by Mohammed Morsi, that he violated democratic principles and tried to manipulate the judiciary and others. So what you have is basically a standoff and a conflicting narrative by the anti-Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt right now.
And right now, let's go with that narrative of it being a military coup. Talk about the backlash in the region and towards the U.S. and U.S. supporters.
Sure. Well, I mean, you have a number of actors around the region that have condemned this, from Qatar to Turkey to even the African Union, which just kicked Egypt out because of this military coup. And then there's also some complexities here in the United States. It is illegal for the United States to provide aid to any democratic country that's been toppled by military coup. That puts $1.5 billion in American aid on the line for Egypt, which is one of the reasons why the Obama administration has been very careful not to call this a military coup.
Right. But again, all eyes are not just on Egypt. All eyes across the world are on how the Obama administration moves forward. And do you believe... I don't think so, but I want to ask you, do you think that if things get out of hand, really out of hand there, I mean, the military is very strong there in Egypt, is there any way that the U.S. might get involved with force?
I highly doubt it. I think that the Obama administration has been standing on the sidelines, and for good reason. This is an Egyptian matter. We're obviously very concerned about stability there, but I think it's very premature to talk about putting boots on the ground.
I thought so too, but you know what? We're just putting stuff out there on the table, just looking at these live shots here. Hopefully this peaceful picture that we're looking at right now remains that way. Unfortunately, we do have at least 3 people dead. Certainly don't want to see any more lives lost or bloodshed there. Mr. Schanzer. Sir Jonathan, thank you.
Pleasure.